What's up, guys? This is Chris Sarai bringing you another edition of the Car Concierge Show. On today's show, we're going to tackle a subject in the EV world where things that happen to new businesses when they're coming out and getting started. And we're really talking about the cancel culture. Cancel culture, we standardly think about somebody saying something, a person personally, and getting them in trouble and stuff like that. But the cancel culture has started to invade the automotive industry, in this case, the EV automotive industry. When I say cancel culture, I'm talking about how the internet, YouTubers, content creators can influence the world. And in this case, we're talking about a young man, MKBHD. He has an awesome YouTube channel, awesome content creator. YouTube channel called Autofocus, and he focuses on reviewing technology, but mainly automotive EV vehicles. I saw him do a little bit for Apple Vision Pro, a review on Apple Vision Pro. Just a fantastic content creator. And what he did a review on Fisker. Fisker is a EV company, been out since 2007. Have a couple of EV vehicles out. This particular one's called the Ocean, Fisker Ocean. And he did a review, and of course it wasn't a fantastic review. And this is in the EV automotive world. What we're going to have to understand and get used to is that an EV is pretty much a big computer on wheels. And like your computers at home, you need software updates. Software changes all the time. Almost every year you get a software change. Windows 10, Windows 11. Things of that nature where, the things that we've already gotten used to when it comes to our computers, those are going to be happening to our EV vehicles. And in particular, Fisker's case, they've been having super software problems that affect the lighting, the entertainment system, the windows, Bluetooth, just a lot of issues with their vehicles. And what you're going to find is a lot of these new companies are going to have issues with their vehicles because they're brand new vehicles. And just like the top four of vehicle manufacturers, research and development is not concentrated on like it should be or like it used to be. People or these manufacturers are starting to put out vehicles in with like 3 to 6 months of research development with such great upgrades, such new technology that they're not prepared for, and they don't know what's going to happen to over time, specifically in a vehicle that moves, hits bumps, hits roads, jerks, twists. All these things are things that are not being tested on these vehicles. And it goes back to something I said in a video I did not too long ago, where if you were to buy a vehicle the first year it comes out, you, my friends, are the guinea pigs. You are the guys that are going to tell the manufacturers what's wrong with these vehicles. You're going to be the people who create the TSBs, the technical service bulletins, that tell the technicians what to do to fix these vehicles because they're new. And if they're new, then the technician's not going to right off bat know how to fix these problems in these vehicles. And so if you were to buy like a 2024 vehicle early in 2024, then you're going to probably spend a lot of time at the dealership getting it fixed. But let's get into this video. What we're going to do today, we're going to view the review that MKBHD did over the Fisker Ocean, see what he has to say about the vehicle, and then we're going to review a call that a Fisker higher up senior executive did to a car dealership about the situation, proving that the review that MKBHD did had reached its high levels. And the fact is that Fisker has been in trouble for a long time. Later on, we're going to get into their stock and their place in in the situation and what they're trying to do to fix it. So, first off, let's review what his review of the Fisker Ocean that started the whole thing, and then go from there.
Start this video just because this might be the single weirdest automotive reviewing experience I've ever had. And I was trying to think if maybe there's a superlative to explain it, like, oh, this is the weirdest car I've ever tried, or this is the quirkiest car that I've used so far. But I think it's just the worst car I've ever tested, but probably not the ways you're expecting. So this car behind me here, this is the Fisker Ocean. You might not have heard of it. Pretty new car, pretty new company, new name anyway. And there were a lot of red flags actually going into this. Just the couple of days I'm spending with it. Got it from a Mitsubishi dealership because Fisker couldn't get one to us, and then they somehow found out that we got one, and they didn't want us to review this one because there's a really big software update, a big 2.0 update coming to this car. And I believe you, Fisker, but that's the thing, is it's not really in my policy to wait on promised future software updates. I'm gonna review the car that's out now, that real buyers are actually living with, and then how about this? At the end, I'll tell you what their promised 2.0 software update is supposed to include. How about that? Deal? Okay, deal. So the fundamentals on paper are the Fisker Ocean is it's a mid-size, it's like a crossover SUV, fully electric, and I really wanted this thing to be good. Like, I'm not just saying this, it's because it's competitive in the same fundamentals as a lot of the most popular EVs, like Tesla Model Y, Ioniq 5, EV6, Mustang Mach-E. Like, that's what we're looking at here. It's an electric crossover the size of those other popular ones. It's in the $40,000 to $70,000-ish range, although this is the launch edition, which is like a high trim. It's the only one you can get, but it's about $75,000. But the reason it's bad is not actually the fundamentals. And I think a lot of people who have reviewed this car before have spent like a day with it, maybe 2 days with it, and I've watched a lot of those videos trying to see if they've noticed things, and it's not going to show up in a day. You live with this car and it slowly rears its ugly head. But the fundamentals are actually fine. Like, I actually think it's a pretty handsome trim, a pretty good looking car. This is like a satin blue-green paint that shows up as a slightly different color from different angles, but honestly, I think it's pretty good looking. Nice looking front. This is a dual motor vehicle. It has a 360-mile range, at least claimed, and we'll get into that in a second. And it's got good materials. It's comfortable. It's got a good amount of storage. It drives pretty well. It's quiet on the inside. It's got a pretty soft suspension. It's more luxurious of a ride than a Model Y. But I'm going to say there's a lot of really unique ideas and really unique things in this car that I've never seen in any other car. And that's exciting because I wanted that stuff to be like innovative and make its way to other cars. But if the rest of the car is bad, then it won't be seen as competition and they won't feel the need to adopt it. So I wanted the whole car to be good. Let me show you what I mean. So first, on the outside, pretty good looking.
First off, where is he at? Is he in New York? I just noticed there's snow everywhere, the wind's blowing. See, New Jersey. It was New Jersey, so that's where the dealership is. So he got to be in somewhere in New Jersey.
Shape, I think, for a 2-row crossover SUV. I like the lights. It's got this nice light bar across the front here. Weirdly, it lights up and says Ocean at night right there, but I like this grille. It nicely hides some of the cameras up there. There's no front trunk, but you've got this like floating Fisker logo in the middle here. It's pretty big, but good looking front of the vehicle, I think. Kind of gives me Range Rover vibes a little bit. Then you've got these huge wheels, and yes, these are air caps, and you see these blue brake calipers. Maybe you want to show them off more. Okay. There you go. You can take the air caps off, get a little bit less range, and those are decent looking actual wheels underneath. But then we keep moving down the side. This is the charge port. It doesn't motorize open, but you can see the CCS port in here. No NACS on this car yet, and no word of it, but it does charge pretty quick. I think it's something like 10 to 80% in 30 minutes or something like that. It's pretty competitive. It's got these nice blinkers out here on the mirror caps that I like. These retract to flush, so nice door handles. And again, the side profile, I think that's pretty solid. Kind of looks EV9-ish. A little bit of a teaser there to one of the cars we're reviewing soon. Here's the back wheels, and then here's a kind of an interesting thing. So 2 things. This rear window opens. We'll get to that. And this light up here I haven't seen this in basically any other vehicle, but this high light up here is actually one of the blinkers. So if you put the lights on the car, or if you have your fog lights on, this thing lights up. It's easier to see for maybe truckers or for people higher off the ground. It's not legally necessary at all, but it also has regular blinkers down here. And then the slot tail lights I think are pretty good too. I'm a sucker for the bar light, so it's not quite the complete bar, but again, you've got this floating Fisker logo. And then this rear window can also completely drop down. These are little aerodynamic bits here to help with range. And if we just zoom out a bit and get into the back, practicality matters. So you do have a nice looking.
The body is really does like you said, it gives you the Land Rover vibes. It's pretty shaped really similar to that last what was that thing called, the Vera, the last Land Rover that they came out with the body, that body style. As far as I can tell, it's a real nice car, real good looking vehicle. I mean, I like the way it looks. But let's continue, see what the problems are.
In diffuser and a pretty squat shape here, but if you actually want to get into it, there's I think a button right here. Yeah. And that'll show you the trunk behind some pretty spacious rear seats. That is totally accessible. Matter of fact, it's got some sub-trunk space back here. So if you want to put little charging cables and stuff like that, that's cleverly hidden. It's probably the smallest you could fit a full set of golf clubs in, but it's fine. It's a good trunk. But now here's something you probably weren't expecting. The top of the car has some things you've probably never seen before. Giant Fisker logo on the, it's not a spoiler, but on the back of the roof here. And then a ton of solar
Actually, that is a spoiler. That's exactly what it's called, a spoiler, but okay.
panels on the top. Now, I've talked about solar panels on top of cars before. The Prius was a hit. I mean, people love that thing, and you can get meaningful range to your drivable battery every day. So sitting out in the sun like this, Fisker claims this solar panel will get you 3 to 6 miles a day just sitting outside for free. But I'm freezing my actual face off, so let's just get inside the car so I can show you the interior here. So, Fisker Ocean, driver's seat, and this is a pretty good start. I like this really big chunky steering wheel, and it has a pretty similar layout look to the Mustang Mach-E.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It does have the front area of a Mustang Mach-E. I did a review on one of those not too long ago, and I personally don't like the extremely small center dash console with the mileage on it. In the Mach-E, when you're turning the wheel and it's starting to cover those things, it was a bother for me. I think that should be bigger, but let's see what he thinks.
This slot screen behind the driver, steering wheel spot here, and then you've got this huge portrait display over to the middle of the car. And I feel pretty comfortable saying materials and build quality are neither a highlight or a low light on this car, but this is already where I'm going to get into some of the quirks to start. So like there's some plastic where you might not expect it in a $70,000 car, but I'll forgive a little bit of that. Where do I start? Okay, HVAC controls here, I'm going to give a thumbs up to that. Obviously there's some weird stuff still with touchscreen HVAC, and you can get into that, but at least if you just want a quick temperature adjustment or a quick fan speed adjustment, you can do that with these real buttons here. Also volume of your media. These are also touchscreen buttons, but you don't have to use them. You can mostly go through these buttons here. Fine, that's good. 2 wireless chargers, 2 cup holders, armrest, and I think these are very comfortable seats. I've been driving these a lot of miles now at this point, and I found these seats very comfortable, and that also applies to the back seat. And it's actually to the point where I would say that this is the best back seat experience of any of the EVs that it's competitive with. So I'm sitting behind a 6'3" driver's position, and I got a ton of room here. Like I usually don't have this much in a Model Y or an Ioniq 5 or something. You have these hideable USB Type-C ports right here. You have these really comfortable seats. The middle seat even has a pretty good amount of footroom. And if I'm not stowing someone in the middle seat here, you've got like a nice screen back here that you can turn on your HVAC controls and pop out some tiny cup holders. Like this is all good stuff for a back seat, which also has a sunroof, kinda, and some cup hooks on the back and front. No pocket storage though. That's kind of weird. But I think this is where the highlights end, and I should just start telling you guys all of the weird things about this car. I think the theme here, because I'm trying to understand why they made so many of these choices, and there's a lot of weird ones. I think the theme here is it's just a young company that doesn't really know exactly what they're doing with a lot of these choices yet, or hasn't considered all of the things necessary to make a great tail-labeled car. Which sounds crazy coming from me, someone who hasn't been in cars for as long as some others, but I think you'll see what I mean as soon as I get into them. So, great back seat. There are also these blocked little squares of all these solar panels above me. I have no way of knowing what's going on with the solar panels in this car. They don't
Sorry
tell
about
me
that. I
anything
don't know
about
what
how
happened.
much range they're getting me. This is how much range I have now. 88% battery should get me 300 something miles. Cool. Here's how many total miles I've driven. No indication anywhere in any software what the solar panels are doing, how much energy they've generated at any point. Nothing. Now here's another one. Great visibility around this car. Love driving on the highway. You can see everything everywhere around you. And as a bonus, there is a camera for this mirror back here. Very adjustable, so if you have a bunch of stuff behind you, you can still use that mirror to see your rear view. Cool. But they did this weird thing with these sun visors where they're like half sun visors and they're folded out by default instead of in. And that's cool, so you can choose how much sun blockage you get, but that also means this mirror here is pretty small. Not sure I've seen a smaller mirror on a sun visor on a car before. Now here's another one. Trays. Storage. They have this little armrest in the middle here, and they actually use a lot of the space with this little tray. It's like a little airplane tray where you can unfold it. It'll hold up to 11 pounds, and I guess you could put your laptop here, maybe. Or, I don't know, if you're charging, you could just use this as a little spot for your phone or iPad. Great, but it does take up a good amount, maybe half of that storage in there, so that's maybe should be an option or a choice you get to make. And then on the other side, there is no glove box. There's just another tray. What? There's no glove box in this car. Just another tray for your passenger. All right. Now I mentioned that driving.
All right, so yeah, that's horrible. How you not gonna have a glove box? That's just, it's almost a necessity in the car. But is it just me, or did whoever built this vehicle, have an airplane mentality? That tray, the center tray that they have, even the stun visors, and that tray that they have on the passenger side, it just gives off airplane vibes, isn't it? A lot of lighting features in this vehicle giving off airplane vibes, but let's keep watching.
I think this car is actually fine, right? It's got a couple different drive modes, 3 actually. They're called Earth, Fun, and Hyper. Earth is the most chill one, Fun is a little bit sportier, and Hyper is the fastest. But I have so many weird things about this. First of all, the only way to change drive modes in this car is via this unlabeled button on the steering wheel here. This one right here. There's no way in the settings to change it, and it also doesn't really tell me what's changing. But from what I've experienced, it doesn't change much. All it seems to really do is remap the throttle response. So I can't feel much of a difference at all in steering or suspension softness, but what's happening is in Hyper, when you hit the gas or accelerator pedal, it just goes, which is great. It's very responsive. Fun is a little bit more rolling onto the power. Earth mode, I will floor the throttle and it will slowly accelerate, but then kick in the rear motor and literally spin the tires and give me the same full power. It's not nearly as elegant or smooth as you would expect the smoothest mode of a car to be. It's not really chill mode if you can still get full power out of Earth mode. Confusing to me. Now, I did find it at least kind of fun that if you were like about to make a pass, that you could just quickly like pop this button a few times and you're in hyper mode, and then you can make the pass and switch back to chill mode. I guess that's kind of neat, but here's another crazy thing. If you go into the settings here and you go to driving, there is a launch mode called boost, and there's a 500 boost limit for the lifetime of the car. Meaning, you can do the boost by turning it on here, and you can come to a complete stop, brake pedal, accelerator pedal, let go. It'll do the launch control. It's quite quick, but once you do it, now there's $499 remaining for the life of the car. So I think they're trying to sort of maintain the drivetrain and not be too taxing on the motors and the battery and all that, but that is another weird thing that I've never seen in a car before, a literal digital limit to how many times you can do launch control. So okay, here's another.
That is super weird. I mean, and think about it this way. I mean, he doesn't even own his vehicle. He's borrowing it from a dealership. So every time he does it, he's depleting that function away from who buys the vehicle. And think about even in a situation where they use those cars in as rentals. You know, people are going to use up that function, and there's no way you only have that many for the life of the vehicle, and that 500 seems low, really. How would what happens when you run out? Don't have the ability to do that anymore. Okay.
Another one. There is a button up here to open the sunroof, and it does this pretty cool thing that I think is called California mode, which is not only does it open this sunroof, which is kind of blocked anyway, but it also lowers that rear window and is supposed to actually also drop this rear 3/4 window down, which is another thing I've never seen in a car before. But what's interesting, I'm going to go ahead and push it real quick, is when you press it, it starts the whole sequence, it opens all the windows, it drops the back window. Another thing I've never seen in a car before, but now that
Make
it's
that
done,
cool
I can press
noise.
and it'll close everything up. All the windows will close because again, it's freezing. I'm not sure why the rear windows in this car in particular aren't going down, but you can watch other YouTube videos where they do open. This car doesn't do it. Now here's another quirk. Like I said, there's buttons on the steering wheel for your ADAS stuff, your forward and backward songs and phone calls and volume and media control. When you're gripping the steering wheel here, unfortunately these outside two buttons are extremely easy to press by accident because they're these big physical touch areas, which is usually the opposite of the complaint that I have of hard to press buttons, but when you're turning the steering wheel, you can actually accidentally press these buttons. This one doesn't do much if you're not in cruise control, but this one will literally restart the song you're playing. That's kind of annoying. But then of course there's all the rest of the software in this car, which to be totally honest, is a mess. And first of all, I don't think I've started this car one time and not gotten some error on this screen behind me, whether it's just one of the steering systems or the braking systems or the cameras failing or the ADAS system not starting up. Weird. You get into here, there is this 360 view, the surround view, that's supposed to work anytime you put the car in reverse. This has failed on me many, many times. I'll get a video of it just because it happens so often. It's easy to get a video. So it's kind of annoying that I can't quite depend on the rear view camera turning on every time I reverse. But you have the maps in the middle. You have this media control down at the bottom. And there's no quite easy way to tell this, but this screen can rotate, and I only found that out by playing with it because I was curious about build quality, and it would always snap back to vertical. The only way to know that it will turn horizontal is if you hold down again this unlabeled Fisker Ocean button for 5 seconds, then it will switch to horizontal and give it a couple seconds for it to figure itself out and turn horizontal. There you go. And then you have basically all the same UI stuff, but horizontal now. Again, it's on this piece of metal. If I want to switch it back, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there you go. Even little things like Bluetooth I've had an issue with in this car. The first time I drove this car home, I tried to pair my phone, and I just constantly got Bluetooth pairing failed issue over and over and over again. It would try to pair, and it would just show the issue on repeat over and over, so I just gave up. I just drove home in silence.
You would not believe how often working at a dealership that people come in because their phones won't connect to their Bluetooths in their cars. You would not believe how many people just refuse to read the manual to show you exactly how to
in the Virgin Islands.
to connected. And the truth is that I agree that a lot of newer model vehicles, you just start to find that the Bluetooths are not connected real good. They can disconnect real easily. Um, that kind of technology. We always had this open statement at dealerships where you'd say that the Bluetooth could be disconnected because you're in a certain area, which is kind of true, kind of not. It's just weird. So, yeah, it's all Once EV vehicles become the norm, I just suspect so many software update problems you just won't believe.
Then the next day, I was driving to the studio, and out of nowhere, I hear a Waze alert come through the car speakers. And I was like, wait, did it just start working? Oh, okay. So I was like, great, I guess it paired. Started playing music. The speakers are pretty decent. Not a lot of subwoofer, not a lot of bass, but
Gotta have the
it's
subwoofer and
quiet,
bass.
hear everything.
Can't mess with it.
And then 5 minutes later, it just cuts out, and the Bluetooth has disconnected again. And then it connects again, and then it disconnects again, and it's swapping my media back and forth between my phone and the car speaker. I haven't had that issue in a car in years. Now here's another thing. This screen behind the steering wheel, they got this big UI that shows obviously your speed, and when you're accelerating and using energy from the battery, it turns red with this pulsing notification, and then when you decelerate, it turns blue. But when you're right on that middle point of the throttle where you're easing off or easing back on around that 0 point between regen and acceleration, the whole screen flashes between red and blue, which can be pretty distracting, especially at night. And I've also had the driver assistance systems fail on me several times. I've had the driver attention thing beep at me many times before. This car also doesn't seem to have hill hold. So brake hold is a pretty common feature in new cars where you pull up to a stoplight, depress the brake, and it will hold the car in place. It's electric, it should be able to do that. This car, you pull up to a hill, it will literally start rolling backwards if you take your foot off the brakes. It doesn't have brake hold. I found that insane. And the cherry on top.
Do you guys all use your emergency brake on the cars, your EV cars or your regular cars that are not EVs? I have to say that I've been in the automotive industry for a long time, and I noticed that the people who use the emergency brake is dependent on where you live. Of course, I was born and raised in Indiana, so in Indiana, most surfaces are flat. You don't get a lot of hills, not a lot of roads that you have to worry about cars rolling back on. So not a lot of people use their emergency brake. And then I moved to California, and out here in California, everybody uses their emergency brake. When I first got out here, I'm trying to move cars, and I'm wondering why they ain't moving, and the emergency brake's on. I'm like, why? It's a flat surface. The car ain't gonna go nowhere, shouldn't park. But they did do it, and I understand why. It's a lot of hills here, a lot of roads that are upwards or inclined to some degree. So that's why they use the emergency brake a lot more out here. So I just think that the use of it is just a really territorial giving. You know what I mean?
This is the key fob here that comes with the Fisker Ocean. Kind of an interesting key fob. First of all, the car feels very unresponsive to proximity. I walk up to the car after it's been sitting for a while, nothing happens. It doesn't automatically unlock, it doesn't wake up, nothing happens. I press unlock. Sometimes it takes me 2 or 3 times for it to actually wake up and unlock the car. That's weird. But then at least you have this button on the top of the steering wheel, where if you press and hold it, it will do the California mode thing. At least it's supposed to. That's what that button's supposed to do. Do I have to hold it for like 5, 6 seconds? Just doesn't seem to work on mine. The list goes on and on and on. I've only had the car for a couple of days, but my point here is you could give me this car and I wouldn't want to drive it. There are so many annoyances, especially with things just like the cameras and the driver assistance things beeping and blinking randomly for no reason. It just feels like the buggiest car I've ever tried. So, okay, there's an update coming with the software. What exactly does that include? Fisker is claiming but there's a couple things rolling out with a 2.0 software update. A revised torque split from 50/50 to 45/55, cool. Automatic vehicle hold, it's about time. An energy meter to see how much power the solar roof is adding, yes please. Also, trailer sway mitigation is added to the stability control, so if you tow with this thing, that should help. Key fob enhancements to improve performance, and then the ability to install over-the-air updates while charging, so you can't do that yet on this car. And a reduction of state of charge loss while parked, so vampire drain while the car is sort of just sitting around. Ideally, there's a lot more that can come. That's the thing about these electric cars is they're connected to the
Vampire drain was a big deal with cars that are not even electrical, especially when the latest newer model vehicles with all the latest electronic technologies and all the latest updates on computers and systems like that. You seem to get a lot of vampire drain going on. Usually when people bring their vehicles in, you find that the vampire drain is coming from the radio system to some degree. It's always the radio system standardly, but yeah, it's a very common thing.
internet, they're computers on wheels, they can improve over time. I feel like it's going to take a long time for this car to be acceptably usable given how many issues I've had with it. But I'm rooting for it only because competition is good and the fundamentals are solid. I don't get 360 miles of range, but I do get 320. It's spacious, it's comfortable, it's good looking. I'm rooting for you, Fisker.
He lying. He ain't rooting for them. He just canceled them. They are done. I mean, literally, it's a situation where, because let's not even beat around the bush. I'm gonna show you guys a situation that happened with the dealership that he borrowed this vehicle from. They had an interesting conversation with a senior executive, senior engineer, something from Fisker, and they reached out to him and they wanted to talk to him about the situation. and I thought it was hilarious, but I mean, of course, I don't think they did. But the thing is that it just proves that the higher ups in Fisker, all the people connected to Fisker or whatever, they're watching and they know what's going on, and they really know what's going on because even before this review, things were going so bad in their situation. I mean, this review just put a nail in the coffin of their situation. So let's find this video. There it is. Here it is. All right. So what this is that this is a phone conversation with the dealership that loaned MKBHD the Fisker so he could do the review. They contacted them, and it was mad interesting. So let's check this out.
Good morning, George. How are you, sir?
Good. Who's this?
My name's Russ Whitlow. I work for Fisker.
Oh, okay. How can I help you?
Well, can I pull your fingernails out as part of an inquisition? I'm going to ask you a couple of questions if you don't mind.
This dude is
No
horrible.
problem. What's going on?
So, you sold, or how many Fiskers have you bought so far?
4?
Jeez, okay. Would it be appropriate for you to share the VINs with
Did
me?
y'all see that?
What for exactly?
Okay.
Did y'all see that? Let me pull this back. Just show Fisker share. Look at that. This is the market summary for Fisker. Look at that drop. Look at that drop. Well, we're gonna get into that later. Let's just continue.
4?
Jeez, okay. Would it be appropriate for you to share the VINs with me?
What for exactly?
Okay, so we have a customer who we believe bought a car from you who's blowing up social media.
All right, so
I've been trying to track him down.
That's MKH. He's a famous guy. It's MKHBD. What's going on?
He's blowing up social media. He's got all the senior management from Gina Fisker down.
Because he's talking crap on the Fisker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's my Fisker. I gave it to him. I thought he was gonna like. Well, he gave me a review, so he was like, "Can I borrow your Fisker?" His name's MKHBD. He's like 12 million subscribers on YouTube. So he reached out to us and was like, "Hey, can we use your Fisker to review it for a YouTube?" And we were like, "Yeah, sure." So we're getting the Fisker back right now. So you want to talk to him and see if you can calm him down or something?
Well, no. So you lent him your car.
Yes.
He's blown up social media, and I'm just trying to get this into the right context. So, because I was about to completely redeploy to go out and fix this car for him and update all the software.
It's my car. If you want to come and update all the software, that's fine. You guys have already sent someone out to us before.
Yeah,
And
no, Jordan, no, ignore him.
nothing ever happened.
it's-
Never fixed it.
That's why I'm coming out. I'm the one of the senior field service engineers. So, all right, George. All right. So if I was to put this into a concise statement, it would be: if you could just share this guy's information, I'd be grateful. MKHBD, whatever he is, that you own the car. This guy did a review. The car's being returned to you. He doesn't own the car.
He doesn't own the car.
And I will attend you to take care of the car in the next few days. Does that sort of wrap everything up correctly?
That does. I'm going to have to reach out to my contact and ask him if I could share his information.
I don't need it. If you're getting the car back, it's a moot point. If you own the car, it was a different kettle of fish. He doesn't own the car, you do. You're the customer.
Correct.
So my job is to take care of you, the customer, not a mouthpiece.
Got it. All right. Well, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that you guys called one and fixed the car.
Well, I see, here's the bottom line. We have professional technicians, we have amateur technicians, and then we got field service engineers. And it's like any shop. You've got A, B, and C techs as the bottom line.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you've got regional people who are coming from the manufacturer who have different ways to get information to fix a car. I'm the guy who comes in from the manufacturer with the different information to fix the car. So what we have right now is, and you've probably seen all the chatter on the internet, this 2.0 software.
Yeah.
It will fix a lot of problems, but it's not the holy grail of fixing Fisker. That I'll be quite candid about. It's still got some holes in it. We've still got some more software to redo. We've got a little bit more to revisit. But it will make the car markedly improved.
Okay.
Which you as the end user need to be aware of.
For sure.
So if you could just let me know who this kid is, I'm going to fire an email into senior management. Let them know I've spoken to you. Let them know that it's your car.
Yes. The car will be back today. We're picking it up from him today. So it'll be back here in maybe 2 hours.
All right, perfect. I will then schedule. This is actually saving me because I've got the senior management just told me scrub my schedule, take care of this.
Wow.
And I've got customers who are aligned, who are also issue customers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wanted to speak to you before I started cancelling customers and rescheduling, but I believe you and I can have a conversation and schedule this appropriately. So, and that's what I'd like to achieve.
Okay. Sounds good.
So if you could just bear with me, give me a couple of days, send me that information, and I'll take care of the rest from there.
Okay, great. Sounds
All
good.
right.
Sounds good. And you can text me.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye for now.
See you. So what happened with that conversation is MKHBD, this guy, he borrowed our Fisker. 2 million views on the Tesla. This one got 1.1 million views. So he shouts us out.
I'm struggling on how to start this video just because this might be the single weirdest automotive reviewing experience I've ever had. And I was trying to think if maybe there's a superlative.
All right, so yeah, now they're what they're about to do is just review The whole review that we just looked at and talk about that. And the thing is that Fisker's not one of the top four, so it's not a company that's going to be backed by the government. It's not going to be a company that's going to be help to be facilitate the correction of all of their problems like you would find happening with Ford or any of those other top four vehicle manufacturers. Those people have reached a level where the government will bail them out. Fisker is not at that position, and to be truth be told, everybody is under the impression that Fisker is going to go bankrupt pretty soon. The stock just exploded not that long ago to the point where it's reached it. We're gonna review a quick stock report about a report, or it's just a quick stock price statement, or a little article. It's a stock price article about Fisker. We're gonna review that really quickly, and it's a written article, so I'm gonna just read it out to you guys. Written by Invez. Shout out Invez. We're gonna check out what they got to say real quickly. But it's the situation for Fisker is extremely bad. So this is the article that Invez put out about the Fisker situation. Here's why the Fisker stock price is imploding. Let's read this. It's another sad day for the electric vehicle industry as the Fisker stock price imploded. It collapsed more than 40% on Friday and reached its all-time low. In a sad state of things, the company that was trading at $32 in 2021 is now going for just 40 cents. In other words, $10,000 invested in Fisker at its peak would now be worth $117. Fisker's stock price has been in strong free fall for months, and the situation has moved from bad to worse. In a statement on Thursday, the company announced that its revenue for the fourth quarter came in at $200.1 million, a $128 million increase from the third quarter. These headline figures are impressive considering that the company started to manufacture and ship vehicles in the second half of 2023. However, a look beneath the surface shows that the situation is not good. For example, Fisker's gross margin came in at a minus 35%, while its total loss from operations surged to about $103 million. Its total net loss for the quarter was $463 million, meaning that the company is incinerating money at a fast pace. The biggest concern is that the company may not be able to continue as a going concern since it's facing substantial liquidity issues. As such, while the company has over $325 million in cash, this amount will be depleted soon. In a statement, Fisker CEO said, "Our cash position fluctuates based on a variety of factors. Since December 31st, 2023, there has been a further reduction in our cash due to ongoing operations. All this means that the company may struggle to hit its annual target for the year. It expects to sell between 20,000 and 22,000 vehicles this year. Its vehicles are not cheap, with the target price being between 56,000 and 62,000. With the industry going through a price war, we can't rule out a situation where these prices fall. Therefore, some opportunistic investors may feel that the Fisker stock price has become a bargain. Besides, it moved from a blue chip EV company into a penny stock. However, at this stage, there is a likelihood that its stock will continue falling as bankruptcy risks remain. The only hope is that the company could become a victim of a short squeeze, since it's one of the most shorted stocks in the U.S. Its short interest stands at over 40%. Check out Stock Club, that you'll learn what that means. Fundamentally, the company faces substantial risks as the EV industry gets saturated. Just this week, the Biden administration announced that it will start investigating Chinese EVs for security reasons. This is a sign that the American automakers are concerned about the inflows of quality Chinese vehicles. That's what I was talking about earlier, about how the government and the Biden administration are planning to always Let me get this thing out the way. I'm talking this thing. I don't know. The Biden administration is trying to make sure that the companies that they know and that they back are still the top thing that's going on. But the truth is that companies like BYD and other EV companies across the way are making big strides in the U.S. They're starting to sell big numbers. So the EV market is going to become huge. There's going to be a lot of EV vehicles available. Polestar, VisaFast. There's so many EV Exeter, so many EV companies coming down the pipeline that you will be able to get a EV vehicle for a decent price, and it's going to have the latest technology. The EV market is going to be fantastic. Okay. Therefore, it is a risky and expensive to short Fisker at this point, since it can be a target of a short squeeze. It's also difficult to buy the company because it could go bankrupt soon. Yeah, I'm not buying no Fisker. Buy you some Rivian. All right. So yeah, it's going down. It's going down for those guys. I feel bad for them. There's not much you can do really to. I mean, don't get me wrong. What they're trying to do now is they're trying to partner with an already established automaker, Nissan, something like that. And if that happens, then you can hope that might help them to stay afloat, help them to continue to make and sell vehicles. Bankruptcy is imminent if they don't. This, and the fact is that MKBHD's review canceled them. The review itself, they already had problems because the people who had already purchased these Fisker vehicles knew that it had problems, and they had already reported it. That's how technical service bulletins are created. That's how recalls are created from people using vehicles and reporting the problems. And once that started happening, and the problems started to pile up for Fisker, and then they had to create the software 2.0 to try to fix these problems. And like the guy said in when he was talking to the owner of the dealership, this is not the holy grail to fix all the problems that Fisker has, and they're going to need a partner like Nissan to help them not only fix those problems, but to rebrand themselves to the point where they can get over the horrible review that MKBHD did on their vehicle. And that's what cancel culture does. It puts you, it uses you and what you've done in the past and what you're doing now to tell the world how bad a person you are, or how bad an entity you are, and then it doesn't allow you to come back from that, because social media will continue to, whatever that bad thing is, will continue to reproduce it and spread it to the point where you can't come back from that failure. So let's head to the other end of the spectrum. Rivian is doing fantastically. Shout out to Anton Daniels and the Stock Club. I had already purchased some Rivian stock, purchased more Rivian stock because of my Stock Club. They were talking about how it was a good stock. Everybody loves Rivian, and Rivian's doing fantastically. They have one of the only vehicles, the R1T. They have one of the only vehicles, the R1T, that is on the top 10 list of EV vehicles. It's part of the top 10 list of electric trucks. I think it's number 2, if memory serves me correctly. I could be wrong about that, but Rivian's doing fantastically. Its stock it just blew up, made me a lot of money, so that's awesome. I'm happy about that. But it is literally on the the other end of the spectrum, as it were, from Fisker. It's doing well. It's producing well. Everybody is happy about the product. Everybody's buying, ordering more Rivian trucks. It's at a process where you have to order them now. Wonderful things for a Rivian coming down the line. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna stay with MKBHD, awesome content creator. Definitely will continue. I probably will continue to use some of his content because what he does is it's kind of what I do as well. So shout out to him. So we're gonna review his review of Rivian had a showing or of its R2 and R3 vehicles. So we're gonna check out his review of that and stay on topic. Must be nice to have the CEO do the review of the vehicle with you. It's what happens when you got 12 million subscribers.
Second row as well. A lot of the engineering exercise was making this door, if they combination this plus the second row, very comfortable.
Yeah.
This is a full drop glass without a division bar here, so of course optimized around creating an open air experience.
So a lot of the headlining specs people are looking forward to is base price of R2.
Base price of $45,000.
$45,000. And there's several trims. So there's going to be a base single motor rear wheel drive trim.
Correct.
There's a dual motor trim.
Yeah.
And there's a crazy triple motor R2 trim,
Yeah,
which is the fastest one. Don't know the price of that yet, but that's like a sub 3 seconds 0 to 60.
Yeah, well under 3 seconds.
Plenty capable.
Very quick vehicle.
But this dual motor one here, I feel like is a good sweet spot of keeping a lot of capability.
Yeah, it's all-wheel drive. It's very quick.
Yeah.
Over 300 miles of range.
Over 300, okay.
Yeah.
Is the base one at 300 or it's a little less?
The smallest battery with rear-wheel drive is under 300.
Okay.
But there's an over 300 rear-wheel drive, over 300 all-wheel drive, over 300
So
front motor.
base is a smaller physical battery than the other two?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And also on the outside, I wanted to get to this rear part also that you mentioned. So I didn't realize this pops out.
Yeah,
It's
these
pretty cool, very California.
power out, which is
Yeah.
really cool.
And then at the back, it really honestly still looks like R1S, which I think.
Notice how they spend a lot of time making sure that these vehicles are California based or have a California feel. The impact of California on the rest of the world has always impressed me ever since I moved out here.
I think it's a compliment. It's got the same bar, got the same logo. You see R2 down here at the bottom, so you know it's the new one. But generally, it's just a little bit squatter, a little lower, a little less ground clearance, just a little trimmer in every dimension to make it appropriately two-row sized. Also, there's a couple other things on the other back side here, which is you move the charge port.
Yeah, so charge port's in the back rear corner.
So back rear, and if we pop it open, I believe we'll see. That's right. It's an NACS port. So now we know R1 owners will be able to use an adapter to charge at NACS, but R2 has moved it to the back right corner and can charge at NACS natively or now CCS with an adapter. Okay. Tell me about these wheels. They're also kind of a little bit aero cap, but
Yeah, yellow calipers. This is a dual motor setup. They have this is with the more off-road tire. There's also more on-road tire, but the dynamics on them are outstanding.
okay. A couple other character things for R2. Do you still have, I have to ask, the Bluetooth speaker and the flashlight from R1?
We have a flashlight which we can look at on the other side.
Okay.
Oh, now we don't have the Bluetooth speaker in this, but still flashlight in the door.
There
Very
you go.
signature Rivian.
Mhm.
Headliner in the vehicle. 100% recycled plastic. About half of that comes from ocean-based plastic. So a lot of work just on creating an environment that feels comfortable, not overwhelming, very timeless. It's really a process of extracting elements to make it as clean and simple as possible, but still bold.
Okay, getting in the R2 here. Pretty similar looking front seat experience and a lot of the same materials. Oh, is there still a wireless charger going to be up front here?
And yep, and it'll work really well.
Nice, okay, I hope so. Got cup holders here. And the other thing I just got a quick walkthrough of it, but there's basically two impressively different things to me, someone who's driven R1.
Yeah.
One is, there's not just one glove box.
There's two.
There's two glove boxes. Okay.
One here.
One there. And one for the passenger. So there's no longer the Bluetooth speaker under here, but there is some floor storage space here.
I love how they've taken a couple of shots at Fisker in the middle of this interview. Yeah, glove box is a necessity. I mean, it's just ridiculous not to have a glove box. That's just going to throw a whole vehicle off. They got to fix that.
Here, and there's no more under seat storage. So before, there was no glove box in R1, but you had the center console storage, which you still have, and you had that seat storage. So that's still there. There's two USB-C ports, which is nice.
Yeah.
But now you have glove boxes. The other thing is this steering wheel. So we should talk about the steering wheel. I haven't quite found a way to explain it, but I think the best comp I can give is the PlayStation 5 controller.
Mm-hmm.
You have these buttons here with these haptics on them. So this big wheel here, which you can scroll up, scroll down. It's got springs and it's got resistance, and they can change based on what you're controlling with the software. So here's an example. Right now, I have this wheel on the left controlling the volume dial right here. So as I scroll, it's got all these little clicks for each individual volume number, which makes sense. But if I were to explore a larger menu item, maybe it's switching between drive modes or something larger. Each one of those clicks would feel, with the springs and the resistance, like a much larger, here you go. So a much larger click, and it actually spring stops you at the end, at the top and the bottom of the menu. It's clever. It's not quite like fully like touchscreen on a steering wheel. I like that. I like that it's actually just better haptics and more responsive and more contextual haptics for what you're doing in the car. It's impressive.
Yeah,
I like
they
it.
developed it entirely in-house. It's all the electronics to give that software-defined haptics is really we wanted to create this amazing scrolling experience.
Yeah, I did not expect that, and that's super cool.
Yeah.
There's also a bunch of new looking software. So this is a software UI refresh that R2 is going to see. R1 owners will also get a lot of this stuff, which is this new sort of almost like an art style for the car. So this is the actual color of the car. This is a camp mode, which there's a new tent accessory that's
Awesome tent, yeah.
really serious looking. There's also a super dark mode, so if you're sleeping in the car, you've got this super low light, all red version, so you can have tons of light blasting into your eyes. And also this new UI up front, which has your speed, you can again change volume and get your compass up here and things like that. So it's all looking pretty refreshed, which I think is a good thing, but still has a lot of the Rivian character. I think just jump in the back seat.
Let's do it.
Back seat. So okay, second row of the two-row R2, and I gotta say, really nice second row space here. I mean, if you're anywhere from 5'6" to probably like 6'6", you're gonna have no problem with legroom. A little bit of storage here. 2 more USB-C is good. No second row screen, but physical AC controls.
Yeah.
Good. And then still a whole bunch of glass in the top. Kind of like this though.
Yeah,
Still like
yeah. Nice lighting.
lantern.
Got a handle.
I mean, the goal for R2 is basically to make an appropriately sized 2-row version of R1S.
We want to
Is that
body,
fair?
body everything that is Rivian into a smaller vehicle.
Yeah.
And as you see, really not give up anything in terms of experience or feel quality, the way to approach materials, the seats.
Yeah.
Of course, we had to optimize to enable the price point to be much lower, but we think we've really made the right trades. Things like back here, as you pointed out, these physical buttons here, fully simplified. The door system's massively simplified. The seats themselves still offer the same support and comfort, but
Yeah.
obviously in a two-row fashion.
Also USB-C up here. We'll put that right there. Alright, so 2 last little storage tricks with R2. First of all, it does have a front trunk, which is, it's a tiny bit smaller than R1, but it still has a little bit of a sub-trunk, and it's the same idea. Powered opening, not powered closing. Save a little bit of weight, save a little bit of complexity, save a little bit of money. Great. But this last thing I have not seen before, so you might have to explain it, but
Sure.
it doesn't have a name either. It's just, you can camp inside it
Yeah.
with all the seats down.
Yep.
And I think
Exactly.
when I say all the seats down, people are like, yeah, of course you can put the back seats down.
Yeah.
No, all of the seats.
Front seats fold as
go
well.
down.
Yeah.
Okay, so show me this
So we can go and look over here. So you see the second row seats are down.
Yeah.
You get a flat floor, but you can also fold the front seats. And an inflatable mattress comes in and covers this, and you have a really nice, comfortable, full vehicle camping experience. And of course, even just the passenger seat on the driver in the front of the vehicle going down is nice for carrying longer things.
Sure.
So imagine you're carrying band equipment or a giant telescope
Or whatever you're carrying,
whatever
who
you're
knows?
carrying,
But I've never seen the driver's seat also go down.
Yeah.
But that makes a lot of sense. So now the headrests go down, the entire thing is flat, and
They planning for y'all asses to be having van life. That's what they doing. They telling y'all that the housing market is horrible and that eventually, if you buy a new car, your ass is gonna be living in it. That's what they telling you. That's what they preparing you for. They telling you, hey, eventually, the situation we're gonna throw this in a little air mattress, set it up where you can just lay down in this car because they setting you up for van life. Believe me.
but
you put the mattress in. It's some accessory you can get,
it's
and
inflatable.
and there's glass on the ceiling, and you're camping in your car.
Yeah, yeah,
It's kind of sweet. So we've seen R2,
yep.
and I think everyone was expecting R2 because
Yep.
you guys have been sharing R2
Yeah,
and
yeah.
teasing a little bit. But you guys pulled the one more thing on us.
Yep.
And there's R3 as well now.
Yes.
So what is R3?
So R3 takes the R2 platform, shrink it a bit, but it's a crossover that is interpreted in every way through how Rivian would look at a crossover. So it's a much smaller vehicle, has great ground clearance. You can drive it on or off road, but it's
Look like a Pinto. Y'all remember the what was it, a Ford Pinto? Y'all remember the Ford Pinto? Doesn't it look like a new model Ford Pinto? If you know what a Ford Pinto was, you know what I'm talking about.
but it's an everyday vehicle. It's the kind of thing you could use in the city. It's very maneuverable and has a lot of really interesting functionality in terms of storage and cargo, and of course focused on making it comfortable to be in.
So as far as the hierarchy now, you have R1S, R1T.
Sort
and
of
you
think
have
of those as flagship.
the flagships, the most capable, the absolute highest end.
Yeah.
R2 coming 2026, lower entry price,
Yep.
slightly smaller. And then R3 is going to be the smallest and the lowest price.
Yeah, R3 is the lower price than R2.
Okay.
It's also the smallest vehicle. It's a 5-inch shorter wheelbase than what you see in R2.
And it still keeps a lot of the same character. Again, I'm looking at the front. You keep the same shape. This headlights are, again, I've seen them all over the streets. You know what
Yeah.
you see behind you when you
Yeah.
see the lights going up. But then it's still got a lot of the same shapes, the yellow accents. This is also, I think, a new paint color, but it looks like it fits right in.
Mm-hmm.
But then this hatchback shape at the back here, I think, is where it differs
Yeah.
the most. And this is the rear of R3. So the lights
Ford
don't wrap
Pinto.
around as much, I notice.
Mm-hmm.
You got this big Rivian text, even bigger than R2.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're saying something about this glass, and there's some
Yeah, so it's got a lift gate. The whole rear hatch lifts up, and so you can go all the way up.
So that's pretty normal. 2 rows.
2 rows,
some
the
storage
seats fold
behind it.
flat.
A little silk tracking, I guess.
Yeah, this is a little extra storage.
Sit there, okay.
And this also pulls out to act as a seat if you need it.
Nice.
That's one thing, but if we look here at the other side of this, there's a flipper glass.
So just the top half now. So that's for, okay, loading up groceries, dropping a couple things in the trunk. Maybe you have a long, this is probably going to be a very California thing, but your surfboard,
Yep.
right? You just drop that in here, and then your
California.
bike
Mhm.
tires stick out the back, and you can drop this down and maybe
drop
hold
down.
it in place. That's cool. It has, yeah, this the back is very different, very iconic, like slope looking type thing back here. And then there's also another thing behind us.
And this we call R3X. And so this
Okay.
is the performance version of R3.
Performance version of R3.
So it's a little wider. If you come to like the front view here, you can see these flares step out a little more, give you the room for wider tires.
Mhm.
This with a tri-motor is just,
That sounds absurd.
it's
Tri-motor.
incredible.
Okay.
Incredible. But it takes the R3 product and really interprets it through the lens of extreme capability on and off road.
So it's the smallest, probably the most nimble, but also, yeah, I can see the tires and the wheels look a little bit different.
Yeah, a little wider.
You've got a new accent color,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken, this little orange
Yep.
for the front tow hooks and for these mirror caps. That's it's different.
Yeah.
So we weren't expecting that, but that is further down the road. We
Yeah.
don't have a price or a date for it yet, but you're sort of showcasing
After
the
R2.
entire
Yeah, this shows
roadmap.
the roadmap for R2 and R3.
Okay, fascinating. Front trunk still?
Front trunk still. Rear, everything the same as R3 in terms of liftgate and the flipper bass.
An ACS port at the back right
ACS
again.
ports, yeah.
2 seats, 2 rows of seats. Wow, same steering wheel. It's all very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay. I say this keeps the adventure theme going.
Yeah.
This definitely has the same character, which I'm very happy about. And I know a couple people, one whose name is Andrew, who is going to be very excited about R2.
All right.
We'll keep an eye on the pre-orders and the release date and all that fun stuff, and hopefully it comes out soon.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
Sweet.
Thanks.
Best of luck.
Yeah.
All right. Shout out to the Rivian CEO giving an awesome interview. Shout out to MKBHD. We definitely gonna be using more of his content, watching more of his content. Already subscribed. Please subscribe. His channel's called Autofocus. Just great reviews of EV vehicles, technology, electronics. Great review of the Apple Vision Pro. Definitely check him out. And yeah, Rivian, just on the other spectrum from Fisker, where doing extremely well in the market, doing extremely well when it comes to the stock market. It just recently skyrocketed in the market. I was gonna look up a video to show how much money that I've made off of the Rivian stock just as of late, but running out of time. Gotta go check out a UFC fight. So, my name is Chris Surratt. This is another episode of the Car Concierge Show. Please check us out, like, subscribe. Please put some comments down in the comments section. Tell me how well I'm doing, how bad I'm doing, what I need to do better, and helping me out. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm out. Peace.